How are things, Terry?
Oh, you can't start that now. We just started recording. I was
We're
ready to
live.
go.
Come on.
We're gonna have to edit that bit already. Jeez. All right. Okay. Okay. Welcome to Cater Code, the Mo you know, where we break down the catering tech and strategy, and all things come together without the fluff. I'm Terry Matthews, and I'm joined by the star of the show, Mo Asgari. With
Please
25
stop.
plus years in tech leadership, Mo helped shape the catering space through his work at Monkey Media Software, driving both sales and a customer first mindset. This series dives into data and innovation and changing the catering game starting today. Mo, welcome to Cater Code. How's your day going?
Thank you, Terry. It's going great. I'm excited because this is our second episode together, and we might have to tone down that intro. It makes me a
Oh,
little
what do
bit
you mean? It's
embarrassed.
wonderful. I love that intro.
It is very good. Thank you very much. Soon enough, my head's going to be so big that I'm going to go to a wide angle so that it fits within the frame.
Fantastic.
How you doing, Terry?
Yeah, not too bad. No, things are busy at Caterlinks.
Good. I'm super excited.
Things are super exciting. Yeah, we've got a lot of people joining us. Yeah, since we transitioned over to the free model for restaurant operators.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
nice.
really picking up. And yeah,
Everyone likes free.
oh yeah, we found our price point at last. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
dear.
that. Excellent.
Anyhow. All right,
If only free could pay the bills, as they say.
thank you indeed.
No, it's a
Yeah.
right thing. It's a perfect thing, and I'm glad you guys are getting the cater link is getting the attention and the viewership, and it's exciting time ahead. So
Yeah,
good for you guys.
fantastic. Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, so today's show we're going to be focused on CRM systems, customer resource management systems, and yeah, it's going to be a fantastic, fun-packed event with loads of questions that we're going to fire at Mo. So Gabe, who's in the background, he's going to fire up the Q&A machine, and let's kick
Oh
it off
wow,
with this
this is
one.
new. We didn't have this last time.
No, we did not. We did not.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Okay,
So,
I
question
like
number
it.
one: why is the CRM system important for catering specifically compared to general restaurant operations?
Um, I am going to argue, Terry, that it is actually becoming very important in general restaurants as well. Um, and I'll use an analogy. I've used this. Those folks that know me and I've talked about CRMs before. The best thing that I can share with people is that I'm a Marriott Bonvoy member.
Mm,
So for those of you that don't know, Bonvoy Marriott, a hotel chain,
yeah.
and um, and I stayed at Marriott's for all the travels that we used to do and still do at a lot of
Mhm.
Marriott properties. And it didn't matter what property I went to around the world, whether it was personal vacation or business. After giving them my name that I was coming in to check in, within a matter of seconds, they knew exactly who I was and what my likes and dislikes were.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most likely, I didn't see that information, but how much money I've spent with the brand.
Hmm.
So their script, their from a training perspective, their script in terms of how they interacted with me um, would shift. And I know that because when I check in with colleagues or other people at the same time, the way they were not necessarily spoken to, but the kind of context and information that was shared with them in terms of the experiences and what they liked or didn't know would completely change. So I argue, especially in the restaurant industry, as the customer becomes the center of the plate, the most important thing, at least in the restaurant side, where we're transitioning now from a transactional mindset.
Hmm.
Terry just walked into my restaurant. I don't know how much you're going to spend. I don't know anything about you. And it becomes a reactive experience beyond just the standard hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Um, that is to me in my mind a transactional experience to more about you coming in and maybe through technology recognizing your information and who you are, and then for
Hmm.
me based on my training being able to react to that. Oh, welcome back,
Yeah.
Terry,
Yeah.
XYZ, whatever the script is. That to me is the customer becoming the center of the plate, and then building around that experience, and through that passion and love and the relationship with the brand, the transactions happening. So the experience is happening. Now, that's a general statement for restaurants. We knew that this was super, super important for many, many years ago, especially in business to business catering, because if I'm going to spend a ton of money with you, and we know that in a sort of a catering transaction based on the size and the number of touch points, that you need to get that experience and you need to get that transaction right. The more I know about you as a customer and about that experience, and if I'm fortunate enough to have historical information about you and how we've served you in the past, then the smarter I am to be able to operate and execute and deliver on that experience. So the CRM, the customer resource, or I call it customer relationship management, really, yeah, it's
That's what
about
it is.
what do I know about my customers and how can I use that information to best serve them? And I think it's with catering again, and catering generically, high transaction, impacting number of people. Yes, it's important. It's super important because of what we just talked about, but it becomes even more important in that business to business catering context because
100%.
it's a high risk transaction and we've got to get it right, because it's not just we just messed up that $500 order potentially, but all of the people that are part of that experience, and now that might be the first time that they've interacted with our brand. We've just set the wrong expectation. So, and the kind of information that goes into it, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, during the session, but the customer relationship management, again, catering is not about the transaction. It's about developing relationships, serving to those, and then through those experiences, making it easy for that individual, that business owner to put their trust in us anytime they're having a high value experience that they need to feed a group of people. That's I think CRM, but we said compared to general restaurant operations, I argue that, again, coming back, every single restaurant, the customer has to be the center of the plate, and the insights that they have when that customer says hello, if they have that information and they can build that interaction, you just have won yourself, developed yourself a long life fan.
And I absolutely love that story that you tell about the Marriott Bonvoy experience, because I've had the other experience as well, following you to the desk, the check-in desk.
Yeah,
I see the wonderful experience that you have, and then they come across me, and it's like, who is this guy? Yeah, treat me like a
that's when I
stranger.
say Terry is my traveling companion. So that makes treat him right. By the way, I used to do that with Earl all the time when we traveled together, because it was funny every time. No, he's my traveling companion, and we used to board the plane together.
And I see Earl is in the audience as well, which is
oh, is he? He can join us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. He knows more about CRMs than anybody. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Earl and Mo, for correcting me on customer relationship, man. It's been such a rush day. I know this stuff. I don't worry though.
We can blame Gabriel for that one.
I'm in the gym.
You're in the gym. Let's see the pikes, Earl. Talk about relationship management. Yes.
Dude, I'm exhausted.
Maybe you should take it a bit easy in the gym, Earl.
Yeah, for sure. Great, Mo. That's a good session. I mean, look, people don't know what they don't know. But here, I have a question for you, around it.
Sure.
So, because everyone throws around this language of CRM.
Yeah.
Right. It's undefined, because I think CRM is very specific to the application of it. And I would say that CRM for B2B channel is subtle, but it's different,
Yes.
And when you say customer to center of the plate, and this is the complexity of this whole thing, which is
right.
You might have a customer that's into your restaurant, and if you segment your services, you can sell more services to that same customer.
Right.
okay, so having that central record of everything is the nirvana. It's like nobody has it,
No,
not
it's
yet,
no, and it isn't. And I think I don't know what it is, Earl, because it keep to us, it seems so simple. But I guess in the restaurant space, because you have so many disparate systems,
yeah,
your ordering systems is different than your operational systems. It's different with your back of the house
yeah,
system.
but
To
people don't
create
stay.
that integrated view is challenging.
Well, yeah, and people don't stay in their lanes. That's the thing. So
Right.
it's like acquisition, merger. I mean, let's have a real, honest conversation. That's why
Mm,
it's all. It's why the whole tech stack is messy for all these operators who are layering all these transaction costs and monthly costs and this crossover. It's terrible for them.
It
You
is.
know,
But you
it's
know
like
what? We're going through a transitioning process again in the
yeah,
restaurant space, and you know that more than anybody. And
yeah,
hopefully, and I know, by the way, you know this, Earl, there's platforms that are being developed out there
yeah,
that are taking that sort of a holistic view
yeah.
of not just operations versus transactional, to bringing it all together,
Well, makes sense.
um,
yeah.
and being open enough where the best of breed, if they need to, there's a new thing coming through open APIs and integration, they
Yeah.
can continue to add that value. But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I think it has to move to being even more frictionless, right? So
yes.
when we look at the legacy systems of point of sale, even Monkey, which is now legacy, right? It's like so it's been around for
The guys
decades,
at
and
Monkey would probably care to disagree with you.
well, whatever, it's legacy. It's something to be proud of. Good luck. I mean, I wish them luck. I mean, I'm rooting for them. I mean, I think
Me
listen.
too.
Okay, I mean, we know the core logic of that system is very specific, and so
Yeah.
Mm,
that's why it's so sticky, and there are others in the same genre, like I would say, Flex Catering is in the genre, Cater Zen in the genre, and then of course there's the whole ERP space, you
Right.
know.
I'm not paid to reference their names, so I
No,
choose
well, whatever.
just to nod.
Nobody listens. Nobody's listening, Mo. Don't worry. But it's just the three of us on this
I
call.
love it. It's perfect.
But Terry and I were talking about how do you articulate to these operators just how do they do it? You know what I mean? Like it's I feel their pain, you
It
know?
is. I think, Earl, I don't remember early in the days, and I don't want to get too off topic from the CRM, but we would walk into restaurant concepts and operations that were executing catering at a very, very high level. And when you looked at they understood the business logic, right? So if I say in catering, whether you have a CRM or not, you need to know everything about that customer, their likes and their dislikes, and how often they buy, and the various channels they interact, and use that information to sell to them. Whether you use a notepad or spreadsheet, they would have a
Yeah,
database, let's call it a
yeah,
database of all their
mm,
contacts.
yeah, yeah,
The excellent catering salespeople would have that. Or you'd walk into the restaurant operations, it's like, okay, I've got to get 5,000, $2,000 orders out the kitchen. How do I break down and how do I solve for this problem? And then they would have a manufacturing mindset. I remember,
mm,
I won't name the brands, but we walk in and they had this thing called the catering calculator, where
yeah,
they would
yeah,
type in all the orders and it would tell them from a manufacturing perspective
yeah, yeah.
what. So I think if the concept, if the operator appreciates and understands uh, the the functionality or the functions that need to be fulfilled, at least the ones that are inspired to do so will get the right tools to do it. We're talking about at a different level in terms of an integrated world where you have a catering ERP system or a restaurant management system that is solving for these key pieces and providing you an integrated view, so that if Erle Dardick, who's a high value customer to our brand, is
Yeah.
now on the phone because he's not in front of his computer, he's on the phone and wants to place an important order for the weekend for a family gathering. If I'm the call center agent or the store or the salesperson and I look you up, that
Yeah,
information's got to be there for me to greet you appropriately.
totally.
Thank you for your loyalty
mm.
and your experience, and that has to be
Isn't
so.
isn't
That has to
isn't
be
it
part of that.
okay? So let's go a step further because getting to like where we are today in this like history at this point in restaurant tech. And because it is CRM is the heartbeat of this whole thing. Because if I want to track Mo and all the ways you buy from me, I need to be able to see that data, right?
Right.
At the point of contact, whether that's happening through AI,
Correct.
whether that's happening face to face through a kiosk or a Zoom call or some camera, whether you're calling me on a telephone,
Or
I
I
need to be
walk
able
into a restaurant.
or walk into the restaurant. Okay, so we agree on that. So could there be a time where we could aggregate that information from all the existing systems, and then when it's time to place the order, they could just click order button and then just jump off to that system? Can't they do that? Like, what's the problem?
It's not a problem. I think it can be done,
Oh,
and to
has
some
anybody done
extent,
it?
it has been done. Well, I
How?
mean, we got close to it. If you think about it, from a Monkey Media Software days, we had a cloud-based or above store-based database, and we could
Yeah,
feed information to every single ordering touch point.
yeah.
A lot of times, we were limited in terms of the information that we could share based on the systems that we were interacting with. But
Uh-huh.
I think the closest that I got, there's a restaurant management company out there that
Yeah.
is uh, putting the customer at the center of the plate and
Uh-huh.
building all those experiences around it. The challenge that you face is that if the maturity of the environment is not to a point,
Right.
and maybe it's just time that you need, it's hard to get people to appreciate it.
Right. But
That's
can they place
and
an
that
can they place an order when looking at the record? Like, why? If I'm looking at the record in some other piece of software, I should be able to order catering right there, or to be able to
you
order
should
a
be. You should be
takeout.
order delivery, catering.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. If you walk in, I could see how often you order through a third
But
party from us. I could
yeah.
see that the last time you placed an order, you had a
Yeah.
negative experience, and I
All of
could
it.
talk to that. All of that. I mean, we use the term CRM,
Yeah.
but that experiential, transactional, informational data
Yeah.
about that needs to be that. When I say customers at the center of the plate,
Yeah.
that's essentially what I mean. And we have to
Yeah.
evolve there. Not
Yeah.
everyone's there.
A customer service dashboard.
It's got to be
Totally.
integrated. It's got
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
integrated.
Yeah.
It,
Okay.
you
Well,
know, and
Terry, there's a
it,
new idea for you, Terry.
yeah,
What's that?
it's got to be
Yeah.
integrated. Seriously, I think there's no reason why it shouldn't be. Um, I don't know what it takes. I mean, how many years has it been? Gosh, 20
Well,
some
look,
odd years.
look.
And
Somebody's going to watch this and get the idea, because look, at the end of the day, the information is out there. Like, you've already got the aggregators who are pulling, marketplace data into
Mhm.
first-party solutions.
right,
You already have that, right?
they're not
And
sharing
so,
all that information, but yes, it's there.
okay,
Yeah.
so now we got to go to the first-party solutions and pull their information over to this new whatever CRM.
I think it is. I think the appreciation in the hospitality space, and maybe that's the wrong way to put it, has always been transactional. And as soon
Yeah,
as you shift your mindset to say, if I do a great job with this guest,
yeah,
the transactions will come rather than I need to capture this transaction, rather than the other way around. It
Mhm.
requires more investment
yeah,
into you becoming super fans of your customers as they're becoming super fans of you based on
yeah,
the experiences that you're sharing with them.
yeah.
But
Old fashioned.
that requires investment, and it's in a business that's purely documented around transactions.
Yeah,
Um, it's a mind shift, and it takes time.
yeah, maybe in our
But I
lifetime.
don't think it's a technology issue because the technology is there,
Yeah,
and this logic
behavior.
that we're talking about, this logic that we're talking about, this behaviors that we're talking about, is widely documented and being used in other industries. So
Yes, for
why
sure.
is it not happening in our industry?
Because this industry thinks as retailers.
Yes, but retailers are shifting.
Yeah,
Retailers are
they
shifting.
are.
Like if
They
I
are
want
big.
to go buy something today,
Yeah.
that retail experience is changing.
Listen, apparel. I have friends in the apparel business, and he's in e-commerce. He's in retail.
Yes, exactly.
He's in wholesale. He's got JVs, partnerships, and things. Like, it's a whole. There's all these different channels, you know.
Right.
And he's got the
And
same problem. Like, the tech doesn't connect.
Right. And I want to dig into it. The reason the tech doesn't connect. Listen, we know that there's restaurant concepts that are taking third-party CRM platforms off the shelf,
Yeah,
and then they're latching it to their workflows. But um, the fact that it doesn't connect with the transactional data
yeah,
and
yeah,
the fact that it doesn't connect with the experiential data
yeah,
is a that to me is a huge critical success factor. That
yeah,
is that is, as one of our friends used to tell us, that's a force multiplier.
yeah,
It's like, yes, it's not just functions, transactions, CRM. It's when you marry those environments together
yeah,
where very easily I can see that 360-degree perspective of that
yeah.
guest
Totally.
value and impact to your brand. That's
Yeah.
the magic. That's the magic.
It's interesting though, because as you speak, I'm thinking back, like when we began development of what became Monkey, like the first iterations of it, it was it started off as a PDF form, right?
Right.
And it was like first name. It was always the customer record was the first thing that
Absolutely.
we worked on.
Right.
And then we built these ideas of these relationships between people and corporations, and then
Right.
step by step as we debated the best way to sort of design it.
Right.
And so I would say, like at its core, like it had a good CRM, like CRM function kind of
It was
idea, right?
central to it.
Yeah,
I,
it was
I don't know
central.
if you realize it, but it was central to it. I think you from your early delis days, even though you
Yeah,
were trying to sell food,
yeah,
as a business person,
yeah,
you were coming at it from who am I selling to and what do they need? Where are they from? How can I serve them? That to me
yeah,
allows you to build the other circles around it. So
yeah.
the,
Yeah,
the customer was always center of the plate. It's
but
like
was
understand who they are.
but it was driven. I mean, a lot of it was back office driven, right? So we actually
Yes.
had a team in the back office that was like following up and following out, and like it was
Right.
old this was the tool that they used that tool to face the business, assign like follow-up dates, take notes,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
prospecting, all that stuff. So
Yes.
it's interesting, and I think that's an
Yes.
interest, and the restaurant industry is, I think, feeling the pain, because if you look at the historical sort of tech stack, um the way it's evolved, which was the point of sale in the 70s, right? We
Yep.
talked about that. That was the primary technology, drive-through technology in came, right? It was all through that time. And it wasn't until the internet that sort of brought this concept of online ordering or digital transactions. Um, and then that all came, and then, oh my God, and then the marketplaces, and then, now here we are now, all this other stuff. And the space is just so much busier and so much more crowded than it used to
Yeah.
be, that
Yeah.
it's like every day I'm finding new stuff, you know?
Yeah. Everyone wants to create an edge, and I guess they take that and run with it. Um, yeah, it's certainly not. It's getting more complicated than easier. But I'm hoping secretly someone behind the scenes, somebody is building something
But,
that's going to simplify this.
yeah, maybe. I mean, there's no reason why in the future it shouldn't be like, whatever engagement tool you're using to engage with the brand, it recognizes who you are on your gaze, and
So
it's that,
yeah,
Right.
just
you
going
know,
back, to our monkey days, right? You
yeah,
you do remember like the call center integrations that we
yeah,
had
yeah,
when people
Yes.
used to call in, we used to take the telephone number of the person that was calling in
yeah,
and
yeah,
immediately just pop up the screen with the
yeah,
customer details. You'd have all the code reds in there, code greens, so you'd have their experience that was built
Yes.
in. You'd be able to see how much they'd spent with you, the number of orders that they place. You'd have that obviously it doesn't include any of the in-store experience, but
Correct.
everything that has gone through the system, you'd have that immediately. You'd have
Right.
past orders in there, so you can repeat orders.
yeah,
All of that's there,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
It was designed.
it was phenomenal, right? But
It was designed for conversational ordering at that
yeah,
time, Terry. But I think, but as things progress, I mean, it's aging out. It's going to age out as well. Like, it's something's like, what's going to come along that's just going to make it like, I think the thing that's going to happen next is the full automation, which is basically like it's accessing the data that's in the system, but it's just going to be seamless through some voice driven.
Yeah, but
I want to
this
put,
is where AI fits in, and it's
Yeah.
going to take all of that information and then be able
yeah,
to deliver you the information that you need in order
yeah,
to have
yeah. It's
that
going to retrieve it.
conversation with the
Right,
customer.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
But
But
the,
the
the
core heartbeat will still be there. Core
yes,
heartbeat.
yeah,
exactly. Correct.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 That
Great.
information's got to be there. The business logic, what you build on it, I think
Yeah.
that's, and how you interact with it. But
Yeah.
um,
God bless them. Okay. Well, I think that's a great. I mean, that's sorry about the noise, guys. That's something really to explain to the community. You know, Terry. I mean, this to me is probably the most frustrating thing ever. And is that people really don't understand it very well, and they don't really want to slow down to understand it, or they prefer to believe somebody else that's selling them
Mhm.
tech, or some. And this
you
is
know
not
what it
just
is? I think,
yeah,
Earl, here's the thing. I think unless there is heavy stress in the system,
yeah,
where you're, a perfect example of it was COVID. Like if when COVID happened, if you didn't have a website, if you didn't have an online ordering solution, you were not in business,
yeah,
right? And that forced those months that we all experienced. That forced, I
yeah,
think, a leapfrog 5-7 years in technology evolution in the restaurant space. And I hate to say it because I mean I haven't been in it for my day-to-day job
yeah,
for several months, a couple years now. But there's even though there's stuff that's being created, I'm hoping we're not getting lazy as an industry and not pushing and truly appreciating what's important. Again, we need to go beyond the transaction and
Mhm.
truly
yeah,
uh, people nowadays, they want experiences. And how do you know what kind of experience you want? How do you remember what I did and how you did it? And this goes, by the way, this goes beyond your traditional engagement platforms. In the early days, the discounting solutions that were out there, the loyalty platforms that were out there, they were giving away stuff in exchange for capturing your data. That was really the first iteration of it that was starting to happen in the traditional restaurant world.
yeah.
Um, but some were able to connect those dots, and others they just saw it as a way of
Oh, yeah,
discounting to get transactions, which is the completely wrong way to think about it,
yeah,
right? Giving
yeah,
away something to get transactions rather than giving away something to get insightful information about your customers that then you can turn to your advantage, not
yeah,
to your advantage because ultimately down the line, you're trying to make money, you're trying to sell stuff to make money,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's also value add to your guests because
yeah,
like I don't turn any of my online stuff off because I'm like somebody out there is doing some smart marketing and one day they're going to expose me to an ad or some product or service that I didn't know I needed, but I need.
yeah.
And well, I'm like, wow,
Well,
what that's amazing, right?
yeah.
So
Well,
um
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of it is less is more. I'm being asked to give up my station here,
yes,
guys. So,
you got
and
to go pound, you got to go back to your bench.
no, no. So I'm just going to relocate here. But
Shoulders.
it's interesting because listen, if you think about the logic of it, right? There's marketing to be able to get new customers. There's people that have never spent money with your brand, which is different than the
Yes,
effort you put into getting customers that already spent money with you.
correct.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
if you just slow down a little bit, right, and you actually manage those relationships
yes,
and create quote the experience that you're talking about, right, which
yeah,
is service driven, right? So
Mhm.
yep,
it's language specific, it's scenario specific, it's creating the benefits and perks and the statuses,
yeah,
right? Um, that essentially you would get somebody to spend more money with you. Now the loyalty companies are they're doing that, right?
right.
But
Yes,
they don't do. I mean, do they do the ordering? Some of them do now. Like Electronics does ordering.
Trying to see. Yeah.
yep,
Mhm.
yep,
Yeah, and I mean, Olobot Wisely, like they've got that whole thing going.
yep. As long as those acquisitions are happening for the right reason, not
Oh,
the
come on,
reason of
Mo,
my
it's
my
so hard.
friend is my other friend company has it, so I
Yeah,
gotta have something, and not that Anyway,
He's
it's like,
he's
are you doing it for the feature, or are you doing it because you understand the
yeah.
evolving workflow that
Like
customers need?
I pump up the stock price. Oops, sorry, you'll have to delete that, Chris. Um, anyways,
I don't have any stock in anything, so it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Well, you know what? It's all of that is in play in this scenario, and I do hope somebody comes along and makes it obvious.
Earl, you were saying something that was very interesting in terms of insights. I remember working with um, one of our very larger customers that was growing exponentially, and they're trying to understand that we're doing a tremendous amount of catering, and then we were in there, we were in the data, looking at the data, and then we realized that customers, I think I've told this story before somewhere, where customers after their second order, if you got them to place their third order, they would come and place their fourth and fifth order with you. Okay. So that insight, yes, it's data. There's some
Yeah,
elements of transaction, but because of the fact it was tying back to
yeah,
individuals that were in the CRM and the database, it made it so much easier for them to execute on that and provide that visibility, that they were able to flip that and then increase off their existing customers, now new customers, generate another, I don't know how many points in
yeah,
sales and grow their business. So that is possible because your customer relationship management tool humanizes, if I could use that word,
yeah,
the transactional data and gives it meaning that you
yeah,
can act on.
yeah, yeah. Totally makes sense. Yeah, like Terry, when was the last time you got a call the day after you ate at a restaurant and you dropped $250 and got a call and said, "Hey, thanks for dinner. How was everything?" I'm not
Um,
talking. I'm not talking an
well,
email. I'm not talking.
yeah,
I'm talking.
no, I know what you mean. Well, actually, it was recently, but that was because I left my wallet
Oh,
there. But
okay. Well, you left your wallet.
no, you're absolutely right.
You were about to surprise
You
us.
know, no, eating out isn't cheap anymore, isn't it?
What's
It's not. I
that?
mean, eating out to dinner is not cheap anymore. It's
No,
No, it
expensive
isn't.
now,
not at all. No,
Correct.
and
it's not.
it's noticeable, isn't it? It is noticeable,
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
right? By the time you layer in like the new tipping culture and like all the things that are like coming at us, Um, I like it, Mo. I like it.
So anyway,
Those are really good ideas.
it's ideas that have been fresh, um, but I'm surprised it's still not. Maybe it
Yeah.
is. I don't. Maybe
It's
we all
probably
have
out
to
there.
appreciate it that we have blind sides. So maybe
Yeah.
somebody somewhere is doing it. Something I don't want to say no one's doing it, but
They're
Mhm.
all doing it.
I haven't seen a monumental shift.
Yeah.
At least the way I'm experiencing it in the
Yeah.
hospitality hotels, I'm not
Yeah.
seeing that in
Different.
restaurants.
Yeah. Not even close.
Yeah,
Doesn't have the scale. No, the hotels are sophisticated, man. You kidding me?
yeah.
Those room
And
booking
the
systems.
hotels have to fight for their lives. Remember, many years ago, I mean, they
Yeah,
were
for
getting
sure.
their
But
and
they're big companies that are now consolidated. That's what they had to do that, right? I mean,
yes,
restaurants, there's a lot of mom and pop stuff still, and there's still a whole conversation. We'll have to do a whole other episode on it. Or maybe,
I
hey,
think we
next time,
just did it,
let's.
Earl.
Oh yeah, we did. But we should go deeper. I'm so fed up with these people. I'm watching every day. I'm going, how did somebody make this decision? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, I mean,
unbelievable.
coming back to catering, Earl. Just again, I'm just reminded. Uh, One of the catering managers the reason they wanted to put a CRM in is because they knew that the salespeople that they were paying,
Yeah,
the customer and the leads that we're generating, to some extent, those were the assets of
right.
the brand. So as a way to protect the brand and the investments that they've made in this B2B catering world, they had instituted Monkey at that time as CRM, so that if a
Yeah,
salesperson went on vacation or they
yeah,
left the organization, they didn't walk out with a master list of customers and then they were starting
yeah,
from scratch again.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that. It was and Wayne
Wow.
Alexander, he used to talk
Mm.
about it all the time. It's like
Yeah,
If it's not in monkey, it did not
It's not
happen.
happening.
And he would pay. You guys
Yeah.
remember that saying,
I
right?
remember.
If it's
I
not in
remember. Yeah.
monkey, it did not happen.
Yeah.
So, and that was a way of him just to pay on that, to make sure that what was being captured was being captured. Number one, it was good, clean data, and the organization owned it. So
Totally. Well, it's interesting because it's not just like, we talk about monkey, but there's a genre. It's very important for everyone to understand. We're talking about a genre of software
yes,
here,
correct.
right? It's not
Yeah,
just monkey. Like
that's correct.
let's be clear about that. And so,
Yes, I'm not getting paid by anybody,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I just want to be clear. So
me too.
because the ERP space, and then like food storms, again, caters in flex catering. Um, if you look at spoon fed, there's all these, like, they're all in the same genre, which is they really came at this sort of business to business. Some of it was catering, some of it was commissary. It really was the same at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I
Um,
mean, you're talking about cloud-based solutions. I
yeah,
know of I'm not even going to call it POS. I mean, they do have the POS, but a restaurant
yeah,
management company
yeah,
based out of Texas, Milagro, who we know,
yeah,
who's
yeah,
essentially doing that.
right.
Not to drop any names, but they're an up and coming concept, and it's hard to
Yeah,
gain any
people
kind
do.
of foothold in the restaurant space.
Wow, I
So
wonder
you
what
kind of
what
have
is
you're
that?
gonna have to put your time in. The
Even if
reason
you
for
have
that is,
even if you have the solution,
yeah, because
makes
you
sense.
think about it, when the number of people a solution like that
Yeah,
impacts in your restaurant concept,
yeah, huge,
not just on a single one, but if you have
yeah,
multiple locations, the
huge.
training that is involved, the operationalization of the system, that doesn't, it's not it happens in days, it's months, right? Um,
Yeah, the
our
big
our
project.
platform, if you remember in the old days, when we're deploying it on a location that was a restaurant brand that was 500, 700 locations, it would be, Terry, you remember this, the rollout, and we talked about this in our last episode. You
Right.
you set up, configure, and then now came the rollout. Rolling out that solution took months,
Yeah,
right?
why did it always take you guys so long?
Because you're dealing with people.
You know what? Let's
Maybe
not go
one day
there.
when it's all computerized and
I was like,
robotics, which will never
why
happen,
did it always take so long? Oh, okay.
because it had
That takes me
anything that
straight
has
back.
value, right?
Thank God we sold that thing. Yeah, that's all I can say. Ay, ay, ay.
I think we should have
Well,
kept it.
listen, I mean, you know, I
Since we're
got
being
so
honest here.
what a ride. What a ride.
Yeah,
Well,
good times.
Darren Whitting's fighting the fight now.
Yeah, he is, and they're doing a
Uh,
great job. So I see their posts, they're celebrating their customer success. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
good. But I mean, just come back to your point. I feel like that kind of culture is it's happening in many different pockets that you have been fortunate enough to connect with, and there's a couple that I've been connecting with. But um, anyway, I don't know how we ended up here, Terry. We're talking
oh,
about
sorry,
customer
it's my
This
relationship
is
fault.
management.
wonderful.
No,
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 I
no,
no, things
love
but
happen.
it's all
what a
related. I
conversation.
think it's all
Yeah.
related. It is
Yeah,
a cultural shift. It is a mind shift
Yeah.
for a brand to appreciate and realize that as a retail business, they should be fighting for the customers, not um, for the transaction. I think that's, to me, is that as soon as you realize that it's not how do I track transaction, is that how do I track my customers
I
and
love
what
it.
they want,
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
Very good,
that's
right?
Mo.
wonderful. That is a wonderful point to end on. Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Love it. Earl,
Poor
thank you.
Gabriel sent us all these questions that we were
I
going to
know.
touch on, and we just basically flushed it all down the toilet. We did our own show. Sorry, Gabriel.
Hey, let's do a catch up on the catering cage with Mo.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yes, absolutely. We will organize that. Until then, right. So that's a wrap
Okay.
on our second episode of Cater Code, the Mo You Know. Huge thanks to Mo Asgari for sharing such
I
valuable
know.
insights, and
Thank
a
you.
special thank you to Erle Dardick for contributing a wonderful conversation today. If you found today's conversation helpful, don't forget to RSVP to the next episode, and you will make sure you never miss one if you RSVP to every single one, clearly. And if you've got any questions or want to go deeper, you can always connect with Mo and the amazing community of restaurant industry professionals at caterlink.com. We will be back next month with episode 3. Until then, keep learning, keep testing, and keep growing. See you next time on Cater Code.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Take care, Mo.